Everybody, with a few hours left, it's pretty obvious I am not going to finish up in time for the contest. So I thought I'd do a quick post-mortem of what went wrong and what went right as we learn through a little bit of failures this dare. To start with, the theme was entire game on one screen, and the thing that sort of popped out to me was, showing my age here a little bit, max headroom. And so I'll run a little bit of this.
Those guys are out there.
It was the idea that we followed this whole sequence here through the controller's viewpoint. So she had all access to all of these cameras.
Okay, go ahead.
And sort of directed the agent through the building
Go left.
to directly control it.
Four-way intersection. Do not cross the intersection until command.
The whole time, she's basically playing on this one screen.
Okay, go.
And it seemed like a really interesting idea. I sort of wanted to make a game like this where you were sort of a controller pushing a guy around, and the one screen thing seemed like the right idea for that. So, jumping in, we can see here, sort of as our one screen. Let's get this to launch, and we will pull it out of VR mode for a second. So in the center of our screen here, we've got our map on our main screen, and then we've got security cameras around the outside. And the initial plan was to do something that was very similar to that max headroom clip, where on the center screen you would have your sort of friend that you were pushing through this space, and you'd be able to click on, here's a camera, and then choose cameras for the different positions for which of these 4 different little monitors. You could push cameras on the monitors, and then you'd give commands of like go and stop, little arrows of which way they were supposed to go, and be kind of hands off. But I quickly abandoned this because doing all 5 of these monitors are render textures from other cameras in the Unity world, and I had no idea how to sort of raycast against those and convert that to an object in the camera space. So instead, I switched up pretty early into a direct control. So you can see here in this top monitor, there's my guy, and I'm using the Unity sort of scripted assets guy, which is another reason why this thing isn't getting done, because I don't have time to rebuild all these dudes. But the idea here was that you could run around, and since I made it direct control, it meant I had to automatically do the cameras for you because your hands are busy. So the nearest 4 cams are the ones that load up on these screens on the outside. And you run around through the space, and you're looking for these you can see a little treasure box here in the menu. If we run around this corner, you can see here it is. I'm now on this camera. I can see, oh look, I'm next to the thing. The pieces about this that are sort of interesting, the bits that I liked, is that it's kind of compelling to have different pieces of information on these different monitors. So the main map here it only gives you the floor plan and layout and where the cameras are. It doesn't tell you where enemies are, and it doesn't tell you where different obstacles within the room are. So you're having to sort of piece information together from the multiple cameras. I still think that the less control version, if I had been capable of making it, would be much more interesting, because the controller is relative to the map here at the bottom, so pushing up moves up and down goes down. But when you're seeing yourself in all these other different camera views, it can get super confusing, because you'll see yourself and start thinking it's camera relative controls, and it's no good. I also like the idea that you didn't have a direct control, that you were a helper as opposed to the hero, which was an interesting sort of twist on that particular piece. As it popped up in earlier, the other piece about this that was sort of interesting, that I liked, is that this is sort of Rift supported. And there's a couple of things that actually made that work pretty well. You don't move physically in the world, you're just looking at the monitors. You can get closer to them and pull away from them. But because you're not physically moving, it pulls away a lot of the motion sickness aspects just by default, because I'm just sitting here staring. Also from the fact that I'm at a computer desk and I'm playing this at a computer desk, there's some immediate, oh, I understand where I am and it makes sense, because I'm seated and my character in the world is seated, and so there were some nice direct connections there, which is something worth sort of building off of in the future. And it was nice to get a chance to play with. I haven't played with Unity 5 yet. This was a quick little run through with the latest beta. I frankly haven't done much with Unity since 3.5, so lots of new things between nav mesh and all this render texture stuff that was fun to learn and play around with. On the bad side, I'm obviously not getting it done. The scope here was way too big. I'm coming right off of just finishing, which releases on Tuesday actually, Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris. And so I'm used to, my brain was in the mindset of working with that team, and when you could get done with a team and not on your own, and having all the tools and stuff just already ready and working. And so I'm having to build everything from, the nav mesh stuff and having to learn how that works, plus trying to build character models at the same time, and the animations, it was just never going to happen. So it was kind of dumb to even choose to do. And the one thing that's interesting about this, especially as I became a controller piece, the reason it's not really worth pushing this much further is that once you get where things are being automatically done for the player, they have to be very smart. When you could personally choose your cameras, there's a lot less burden on the level design. As long as there was cameras around for the player to choose from, then there was always something that they could do, and if they made a mistake, they felt like it was theirs. But once the cameras started automatically choosing, it puts a huge burden on quality level design, and especially because there's a stealth aspect of trying to get around guys. You can find areas of the game where you walk to and all of a sudden you're not on screen anywhere and you have no clue where you are or where you should be, and some of that could be fixed up quickly with highlighting the cameras here on the screen, but to really make it work, you'd need to have a lot more intelligent level design layout, and that's not something that's going to get done in the next couple hours. So a lot of things didn't work, but there's a couple of things in here that are interesting. The idea of multiple screens is still something that is interesting to me. I'd like to see where I could push that a little bit further later. And I still think playing as the non-hero, but the hero support class in the background, there's a compelling play space to be made there. But not able to finish it this time, which is a bummer. The sort of the lesson between these last two, the last one that I did and this one, is that the last game, it was up and playable within a couple hours, and then it was just polishing that over the course of the next 40 or so. Whereas this one, I was a couple days into writing stuff before it was even remotely playable, and that's no good. That's not the way to do this sort of thing. So stuff to learn for the next time, and try to get it better on the next one. All right.